Hi, and thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Furk, aka Phil, and some of you might know that I'm kind of a retro style geek regarding cameras. I have a soft spot regarding these types of cameras, and a few weeks ago I purchased the OM3 simply because of my curiosity and also because of the retro style inspired by the original OM1. Why I purchased this camera out of my own money you can find up here. And today I want just, not compare directly, but just speak about one or two things which I noticed by using the OM3 the past couple of weeks compared to the Nikon Zf. And some of them are just weird. Some of them is, some would say would be a con, and some are good. And I thought I will share these thoughts with you. And more detailed comparisons between these two amazing retro style cameras will follow in the upcoming weeks. So stay tuned if you're interested. Now, regarding one of the first weirdest thing when I started to use the OM3 is regarding the touch user interface. I'm not sure if that was already been before the redesign of the menu system of the OM system cameras. I saw older camera videos from Emily, aka Micro for Nerds, that the menu structure has been redesigned on the OM system cameras. Weirdly enough, in the menu, if you scroll through menu points and so on, intuitively you would try to touch certain menu points, and the OM3 does feature touch display, but within the menus you are only able to touch certain things, and other points you will have to use the D-pad. So for example, here on top this line you are able to touch the menu points and it does work fine. But if you want to select the sub-menu points, as you see here, this doesn't work on touch. So if you want to select, you have to use the D-pad. And it was counterintuitive for me because, again, on the top bar you are able to do this. And that also doesn't end there regarding the touch support, because, for example, if you want to review an image, it's not possible to use the gestures you know from different other cameras, like the Nikon Zf that does pinch to zoom. If you want to zoom in, you have to basically, on the default settings, you have to use this dial to scroll in, but also here's a scroll bar, you can see it, up here, where you go up and down and scroll it that way. That was quite weird in my opinion, but again, it does have touch functionality like swiping, right? That's something I found quite weird, that this is not available on the OM3. I assume that this can be fixed by a firmware update. I'm also aware that there's currently one firmware update out there which only addresses the stability regarding replay, but that is also the next weird thing I found out regarding the OM3. And if these 2 points I just mentioned, the touch stuff, is possible to adjust in the customized settings, let me know. I didn't find anything. And also the next thing regarding the firmware update I found strange is that what I found on the official website of OM system, there's only 2 ways to update your camera. The first thing is via the app, and the second point is via the desktop app. So in both ways you need the software either on your phone with Bluetooth connection or via the USB port on your computer. Basically all other camera brands I know is that there's also the traditional way of updating your firmware update is by downloading the firmware file onto your SD card, put it into your camera, and then execute the firmware update on the camera itself. I didn't find the firmware files anywhere on the OM system webpage. I'm not sure if that's only in Germany the case. Let me know if you're in a different country and have it available. As you see on the webpage, it only gives me these two options, either via phone app or desktop app, which was quite yeah, weird for me, because I know it from other camera brands differently, and Nikon also provide these firmware files by just putting them on the SD card and perform the firmware update from there. Coming next to the user interface of the OM3 itself, because some of you who has commented on my previous OM3 system is that the OM3 only looks from the outside, retro style, but if you look at the interface compared especially with the Nikon Zf and also all the Fujifilm X-T cameras, these cameras feature dedicated dials, in this case the shutter speed and also the ISO speed dial. Whereas on the OM3 you have traditional dial layout of front and back dials. So you don't have these dedicated retro style dials. To be fair, if you look at the OM1, the SLRs, cameras back then featured the shutter speed and the aperture on the lens, the shutter speed on the lens mount, as you see here, and the aperture on the lens itself. And regarding dials, you only have this here for your ISO speed, and this dial is for on and off. And therefore, you could say it's fair enough that OM system doesn't follow the other retro design regarding all the shutter speeds, because the OM1 OG1 didn't feature that. The dials were on a different place. But what I found quite interesting is that this ISO dial, regarding the tactile feel and experience using it, compared to the OM3, it's quite similar. And oddly enough, these dials, although they, you could say traditional in regarding camera placement of shutter speed and aperture, because you can program them either way, it's customizable. If you use them, it's quite satisfying, not only regarding the clicks, but also the feel if you use them. And this goes for all dials on the OM3. But since shutter speed and aperture is something, at least for me, I use the most, I turn these dials quite often, and it's, oddly satisfying. I'm not able to put it in words, to be honest. It reminds me of the same satisfaction I get from these dials, from the Zf, or also the aperture rings from Leica M-glass lenses. And therefore, although this UI, you could say, is a more modern one without dedicated shutter speeds and ISO dials like the Zf, these dials still gives you some satisfaction for the lack of words I have by using these dials. Just feels nice if you turn them. In comparison, if I just use the dials front and back on the Zf, which is also they also click nicely, but I prefer using the dials on top on the Zf. On the OM3, it just feels nice. I'm just repeating myself, but I can't describe it. And because these dials of the OM3 feel so tactile, I don't miss an aperture ring somehow on the OM3. And I know that I basically beat a dead horse regarding the aperture ring on the Zf, and here I'm just somehow missing the aperture ring on the lenses. But here, adjusting the aperture on one of these dials is good enough for me, and it's weird, I know, I don't know how to put that in words. The next point I found quite surprising, and somehow it was also weird to me that I get also some kind of satisfaction about this, is regarding the shutter sound. I don't know what it is, but when I first used the OM3 out of the street, hearing and feeling the shutter on this camera, it was I found some joy out of this. I also have the same feeling about the Zf. Somehow this dampened sound I really enjoy about this. And I think I'm weird about that kind of stuff that's getting satisfaction out of this. Yeah, I know, it's weird, right? This combination regarding feeling the, using the dials, feeling them, click, having the shutter, hearing it, also feeling it through the body, it's quite unique in my opinion of the OM3, and I really enjoy it on the OM3. Another point I find quite interesting and weird at the same time is the topic of ergonomics. For sure, the OM3 is much smaller and much lighter compared to the Nikon Zf, but they both share kind of the issue regarding ergonomics, because although the OM3 is relatively light thanks to the compact size, you also see some sacrifices. As you can see here, the typical issue of small body cameras, that your pinky is quite relatively loose on that topic. Thanks to the weight of the OM3, the lightweight, for me personally it's not that big of an issue, but I do feel the lack of ergonomics on this camera. But thankfully you have at least here on the back of the body a place to rest your thumb, which is not the case on the ZF, and you know that me and a lot of other ZF users has complained about the ergonomics of this camera, and I personally have here glued this accessory on the back to rest my thumb on it to improve the ergonomics on the ZF at least a little bit. And funny enough, I think that's kind of a common theme which retro style cameras kind of share, that as soon you adapt these retro style designs on a modern camera, you kind of sacrifice ergonomics, especially when you are used to modern body designs. I think the only one who is kind of great in that perspective is Fujifilm. I find that all the XT cameras and X100 cameras does feel much better in the hands regarding ergonomics compared to the Nikon Zf, or in this case the OM3. But don't get me wrong, the OM3 is still good enough to hold, and it does remind of the old analog SLR cameras. The next topic, which I find really weird, and I think it's a user error on my end, but I haven't found any different settings in the menus yet, is regarding the manual focusing on an OM3 camera or OM system camera. I was quite excited in my initial video regarding manual focusing, especially with my Leica M-glass lenses, as you can see in this video. And I thought that the manual focusing experience would at least be the same like all the other mirrorless cameras, with focus peaking and adapting via an adapter. And what I found is that you have to kind of configure it to get focus peaking. First of all, I personally put the focus peaking activation on this AF on button, which I have customized it accordingly. And if you set your OM3 on manual focus, start to turn the focusing dial will also punch in, which you can also customize accordingly. And if you hit your customized focus peaking on button, in my case the AF on button, then you also have focus peaking. On all other cameras I have used on Canon, Sony, Lumix and Nikon, also here in the Nikon Zf, you basically just set up your focus peaking, and as soon you hit manual focus mode via lens or in the menu, this focus peaking is activated. You don't have to activate focus peaking with a dedicated button. That was something I noticed on the OM3. And the second one is related to the here, in my case, the monochrome dial or dial I set to monochrome, which determines your JPEG output. I like to use the EVF and the display to show the preview of an image in black and white. If this is on monochrome, and I hit focus peaking, somehow the camera turns the preview back to color. That surprised me a little bit. I find it quite weird, and it's also, for me personally, harder to focus manually, because my ideal manual focusing peaking is having the preview in black and white and have some kind of image as my focus peaking orientation, ideally red or blue. Yeah, every time I hit focus peaking on this camera, it activates the color again. And again, I think it's might be my end on user error. So if you know a different way to manual focus on OM system in general, let me know, because customizing one of the buttons for focus peaking, that was also confirmed in one of my comments, and that's why I thought that's the only way on the OM system camera to get focus peaking activated that way. The last point I found quite, at least for me personally, weird, was the fact that having the OM3 combined with this 35mm Mark II lens, I basically have an IP-rated weather-sealed camera for the rain, and I didn't expect to have that kind of IP rating to give me some kind of peace of mind when it started to rain outside. I was still able to shoot this camera without thinking about perhaps damaging the camera. Also seeing some other videos about the OM3, other YouTubers pouring water all over the camera. I'm not doing this with my own piece of OM3, but having that IP rating and seeing proof about this weather resistance somehow did give me peace of mind about the OM3 still functioning after that kind of water splash. Although I know that the ZF is also weather resistant, I also know that some of my lenses don't have this weather gasket to prevent water going in. So here it's important to have an appropriate lens which provides that kind of water resistance. I know that's kind of user error if I don't have the appropriate lens, but that's, yeah, somehow from all cameras I have, this one is the only one which is weather sealed completely. And all my other interchangeable cameras, either the body is not weather sealed or the lens is not weather resistant. So that was also something I didn't know that I would appreciate when I saw all kinds of videos regarding the OM3 and being weather resistant, blah, blah, blah. But using that also in the rain and not about thinking about the camera getting damaged was a pleasant surprise to myself. Normally, especially when I shoot film or my M cameras, as soon as something comes up on the clouds, I will start to pack up my cameras into the bags, and that would be it regarding shooting on that day. But on the OM3, I didn't expect to appreciate this fact. Yeah, I know that some of you might have the correct setup, like the ZF with an appropriate lens for weather sealing, or the Z-A7 or Canon R cameras with the correct combo. They are weather sealed, sure. But for me, it was a premiere, you could say, to have a camera, also small and compact, to be weather sealed. Yeah, just a quick short video about some topics I noticed during my use of the OM3 last few weeks. If you're an OM system shooter and see user error on my end, please write it down in the comments below. I'm still new into this OM3 OM system ecosystem, and I'm still on a learning curve, you could say. But I have to say, I really enjoy the OM3. It did surprise me a lot, and I will continue shooting with this camera and also do some kind of comparisons with the Nikon Zf, which I have owned since launch. As a quick preview, you could say, I'm quite surprised that these two would do an amazing combo, because they somehow complement themselves. But that's just me being a camera nerd, owning too many cameras. I know that most people would choose one or the other. And for that kinds of decisions, I will have something in the pipeline in the near future for you. If you are still here until this point, thank you very much for your time. you're the one who deserves the like for that. And if you want to support my small little channel, check the affiliate links below in the description. And if you are curious about my opinion regarding the GFX 100 RF as an introverted street shooter, check this video up here, or have a look how the OM3 compares with analog black and white film. Check this one and have a nice day.